The Death Knight attacked Aiden again, but he blocked it with his Banshee shield. Aiden thought, as expected from a semi-master level Death Knight. Even blocking his attacks feels overwhelming. Suddenly, Aiden called out to Dayer, "Now's the time. Attack the Death Knight." Dayer charged with all his strength, but the Death Knight easily blocked his spear with his sword. Dayer was shocked. "He blocked my spear like it was nothing." Aiden grew angry. Aiden frowned, his thoughts racing. Judging by the amount of magical power I sensed, he must be at least a semi-master. He considered, feeling the weight of the situation. But something gnawed at him, something deeper than just the presence of a powerful individual. Why target Dayer specifically? His mind worked quickly, connecting the dots. The person who would benefit the most from Dayer's disappearance. The person who sees Dayer's existence as a thorn in their side. Aiden's breath caught in his throat as the realization hit him hard, a cold sweat dripping from his forehead. There's only one person that fits that description. Solbita, he muttered under his breath, the name feeling heavier than usual. He began piecing it together. Solbita, the eldest son of the family, overshadowed by his younger brother Dayer, who had been hailed as a historical genius, a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Despite his position as the firstborn, Solbita had always struggled to stand out, his achievements dwarfed by Dayer's extraordinary prowess. In the Grand Duchy of Sias, where rulers are chosen based solely on ability. In his mind, he cursed Solbita, that bastard. He remembered the past, and how Solbita had become the Night King by luck because of a similar incident. How did he become the Night King after killing his own brother? Aiden thought. And worse, he's been working with the black mages behind my back. The more I look into it, the worse it gets. Dayer, frustrated, asked, "How can we defeat someone who isn't even getting hurt by our attacks?" Aiden replied, "I have a way to kill that monster." Dayer was surprised. "You're saying there's a way to beat something that strong?" Aiden nodded confidently. "It's a tactic that can defeat even stronger opponents. It's called the Provocation tactic." Dayer, still shocked, thought to himself, "Provocation tactic? Can that even be called a tactic?" But he gripped his spear tightly and said, "All right, let's try it, whatever it is." Just then, the Underlord appeared and asked Aiden, "When have you ever not provoked your opponents?" Aiden smirked, replying, "That just means it works, and giving it a name makes it sound more official." Meanwhile, the Death Knight was focusing on Dayer, telling himself, "Dayer must die." He rushed toward Dayer to attack. Dayer was scared, but just before the Death Knight could strike, Aiden appeared again and blocked the attack with his Banshee shield. Aiden thought to himself, as expected, "Solbita, you're skilled in betrayal. But things won't go as you planned this time." He then provoked the Death Knight, yelling, "Come out, you annoying insect!" Dayer readied himself to attack again, but the Death Knight saw him coming. Before Dayer could strike, the Death Knight dodged and leaped into the air. Aiden thought, as expected of a semi-master, his strength is incredible when he gets serious. Dayer, on the other hand, thought, if my spear had hit properly, even a Death Knight would have been shattered. The Death Knight attacked Dayer from above, but Dayer didn't feel anything from his spear. Suddenly, he saw the Death Knight coming at him and was shocked. But just before the attack landed, Dayer managed to escape. The impact from the Death Knight's strike stirred up a cloud of dust. The Death Knight grew more annoyed as Aiden dodged and provoked him again. Furious, the Death Knight yelled, "Before I kill Dayer, I'll kill you." This cycle repeated. Aiden blocked the Death Knight's attacks, then Dayer would strike, but they couldn't land a solid hit. The Death Knight became increasingly frustrated and angrier. Dayer said to Aiden, "We've blocked all his attacks, but we haven't been able to hurt him at all. How can we even make a scratch?" Aiden just smiled. Dayer was shocked to see him smiling and called out, "Young master." The Underlord, also surprised, said, "Isn't there something strange with Aiden's condition? Beelzebub, are you possessing him again?" Beelzebub replied, "No, Lord of the Underworld, it's not me." Aiden smirked and said, "Don't worry, I'm still in my right mind." The Underlord replied, "Worry? Don't be ridiculous. I'm only concerned because if you die, I'll be in danger too. Right now, you're barely managing to block and can't even attack. Aiden chuckled and said, "Don't be embarrassed. It's not that I can't attack. I'm choosing not to." Surprised, the Underlord asked, "You're choosing not to?" Aiden explained, "Right now, I can't harm him with my power alone. That's why I need the power of this shield." The Underlord responded, "Are you planning to strike him with the spirit of that shield?" Suddenly, a powerful aura from the Banshee's spirit surrounded Aiden. Aiden said, "The Banshee's spirit shield is filled with a spirit tainted by madness. The more I use it, the more madness fills the shield, making me stronger as I'm infected by it." Then, with a wild smile on his face, Aiden flew up and attacked the Death Knight. He thought, "I can fight at the level of a semi-master now." Dayer, watching, felt frustrated. "What is this? Has he been hiding his strength all along?" he thought. "I knew Aiden was strong from our fight, but I never imagined he had reached the level of a semi-master like me." Sweat dripped from Dayer as he continued thinking, "No, he's more than just a semi-master. Young Master Aiden is strong enough to overwhelm even that Death Knight." Aiden's attack finally injured the Death Knight, who gritted his teeth in frustration. Despite this, Aiden kept that wild smile on his face, thinking, "That madness made me a bit off target." The Underlord, surprised, commented, "It seems like all your equipment, starting with Beelzebub, is far from ordinary." Aiden replied, "The better the item, the more flaws it has." The Underlord retorted, "What nonsense is that? They say items resemble their owners." Suddenly, the madness surrounding Aiden grew more intense. Aiden said, "It's been a while, and this madness is getting harder to control. It's time to end this." Activating his ring of swiftness, Aiden moved just as the Death Knight was about to attack him. The Death Knight, furious, yelled, "Die, you damn insect!" But he was shocked to realize that Aiden was already in the air above him, moving too fast to be seen. At that moment, Aiden launched another attack, striking the Death Knight on the other side. The Death Knight, now bleeding, gritted his teeth in anger. "I can't see him. Where are you, insect?" Aiden laughed and taunted him. "I'm right here, you slow fool." Aiden attacked the Death Knight from behind. Dayer, sweating as he watched, thought, "He's even faster and stronger than before. If I try to help, I just get in the way." Aiden smirked at the Death Knight and said, "Go ahead and wait. I'll send your master, the Night King, to join you soon." He unleashed a flurry of attacks, causing the Death Knight to scream in agony. The Death Knight thought, "I'm dying. If I die now, my mission will fail." Desperate, he suddenly moved toward Dayer to attack him. Dayer was shocked by the sudden assault, unable to move. The Death Knight, closing in on him, shouted, "There will be no mission failure." As Aiden prepared his final strike, believing he would finish the Death Knight once and for all, he noticed something odd. Just before his attack could land, the Death Knight had vanished. Confused, Aiden scanned the battlefield, and his heart sank as he saw the dark figure of the Death Knight closing in on Dayer. The speed of the Knight's movements had been too fast, leaving even Aiden puzzled. He thought, where did he go? How could he have moved so quickly? Dayer stood frozen, his body betraying him under the sudden pressure of the Death Knight's approach. Sweat dripped down his face as panic set in. He had no time to think, no time to react. The Death Knight's sword was inches away, ready to end him. Meanwhile, Aiden felt the side effects of the ring of swiftness creeping over him. His limbs trembled as if they were being weighed down by invisible chains. His thoughts were racing. At this rate, everything will go according to Silbeda's plan. He tried to push back against the fatigue, but his body refused to listen. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, Tyan rushed forward with a shout. "Get away from Dayer!" He sprinted toward the Death Knight, with his sword gripped tightly, determination blazing in his eyes. Dayer is much stronger than me, Tyan thought, but even he couldn't handle this guy. I can't let my closest friend and rival die here. As he charged, Tyan recalled Aiden's words from earlier in their training. "Your sword is too light, Tyan. Compared to the border counts, your strikes lack weight." Something inside Tyan clicked. His sword aura flared, becoming denser and more powerful than ever before. With renewed strength and resolve, He swung his blade just before the Death Knight could land his blow on Dare. In a single, powerful strike, Tyan's sword cleaved through the Death Knight, cutting him clean in half. As the dark figure dissolved into mist, the Death Knight uttered one final, chilling sentence. The mission isn't over yet. Then he disappeared entirely. The remaining smaller Death Knights, which had been terrorizing the battlefield, vanished in the same instant. The soldiers who had been struggling against the undead were left in shock. One soldier muttered, "He cut that Death Knight down in one strike." Another said in disbelief, "Did young Master Tyan just take it down alone?" The battlefield erupted with cheers. Soldiers began shouting, "Young Master Tyan defeated the Death Knight." Their voices echoed in celebration. Another soldier exclaimed, as expected of someone who inherited the blood of a sword master. Despite the joyous atmosphere, Tyan stood there, drenched in sweat, his breathing heavy. He glanced at Dare, who was now grinning widely. "You've done it," Dare said, his voice filled with pride. "You've become a semi-master, Tyan." His eyes gleamed with gratitude and respect. "You've finally become a semi-master, and now you've even saved my life," Dare said, smiling proudly. With a firm shake, he added, "You're truly my rival, Tyan. I'll repay this debt one day, mark my words." Tyan, still drenched in sweat, nodded casually, "Yeah, sure," but his mind was elsewhere, caught in a whirlwind of confusion. Did I really take down that Death Knight in one strike? The memory of the slash replayed in his mind, but something felt off. The sensation lingered, unfamiliar and unsettling. As the soldiers gathered around them, celebrating their victory, Dare turned toward where Aiden had been. "Above all, we can't forget to mention," he paused mid-sentence, blinking in surprise. "Huh? Where did he go?" Aiden had vanished, leaving Dare puzzled. Meanwhile, Aiden, struggling under the effects of the Ring of Swiftness, was barely able to walk. His legs trembled, and he felt his strength waning. "Forcibly raising my power is taking too much of a toll," he thought. "Now that the job's done, I need to get home and rest." Out of nowhere, Underlord appeared beside him. "Shouldn't you enjoy the victory a little?" he asked, his voice dripping with dark amusement. Aiden, sweating and nearly collapsing, responded, "If I don't rest now, I might rest forever. There's no joy in this. It's far too early to feel victory." His eyes narrowed. "This is just the first step of my revenge." His mind wandered back to the revelation, and he muttered, "But to think that straight-laced Night King Silbita was in cahoots with black mages. Who knows what the rest of his colleagues were up to behind my back in the past?" As Aiden slowly made his way toward the exit, Underlord chimed in again. At least the timing worked out well. It almost played perfectly into the Night King's plan. Aiden smirked. "Yeah, I told you the Silver which could handle the Chaos followers, and she did. The Silver which is really strong." He then added, "Thanks to her dealing with them in time, the summoning spell was broken, and the Death Knight disappeared. It could have been much worse otherwise." Suddenly, Lo came running toward him, shouting, "Young Master! Young Master!" Aiden, still trembling and barely able to stand, turned to see Lo, who looked like he had been through a rough battle himself. Lo, panting heavily, asked, "Are you all right?" The undead suddenly attacked outside. Aiden, barely able to hold himself up, responded dryly, "Do I look okay to you?" He then added with a strained voice, "Where were you until now?" Lo, his face battered and bruised, looked down in shame. "I'm sorry, young master. I was dealing with the undead inside the palace." Aiden, despite his condition, managed a faint smile. "No, you did great, Lo. Now let's get out of here and rest." Aiden found himself in the Imperial Palace guest room, waking up suddenly from a deep sleep. He blinked in confusion, rubbing his eyes. "I passed out as soon as I got here yesterday. I wonder how many hours I slept." Just as he was about to sit up, a voice startled him. "You sure can sleep for a while." Aiden jumped in shock, shouting as he realized Nisita was standing behind him. She gazed at him with a calm, almost amused expression. "No one's coming, no matter how loud you scream," she said. "I've already put up a sound-blocking barrier around this area." Sweating nervously, Aiden replied, "Oh, Is that so? His mind raced. I knew this was coming, but I didn't expect her to show up the very next day. Gathering his composure, he asked, "How did you manage to get in here?" Nisita, walking slowly toward him, smirked. "Getting into a place like this is easier than wringing a goblin's neck," she said, her tone turning serious. "Now it's your turn to answer me." Her aura shifted, becoming menacing as she emitted a powerful, dangerous energy. "How do you know about me?" she demanded, her killing intent filling the room. Aiden's heart raced as he thought, "Ugh, killing intent right after waking up?" She added coldly, "If you try any tricks, I'll kill you right away." Aiden, still seated on the bed, raised his hands defensively and said with a forced smile, "I just want to maintain an amicable relationship with Lady Nisita." He then continued, "Because we both have the same goal." Nisita's eyes narrowed in suspicion. "You, a noble of the Empire, have the same goal as me? How is that possible?" She stepped closer, her gaze unyielding. "Do you even know what my goal is?" Aiden grinned confidently. "You despise black mages." Her reaction was immediate. Her body tensed, and her fist clenched in shock. Aiden, still grinning, knew he had struck a nerve. Suddenly, Nisita's left hand began to glow with a purple aura, dark and ominous. Aiden's eyes widened as she moved closer, her voice filled with venom. "Say that again. What about black mages?" Aiden kept his composure despite the dangerous energy emanating from her. "These days, it seems like black mages have forgotten their principles." Nisita froze, a look of confusion crossing her face. Sweat began to drip down her brow, her anger mingled with uncertainty. Aiden stood, slowly continuing. "A long time ago, someone once told me, and showed me, that originally black magic was a power created to purify lands tainted by dark mana and to fight against the monsters of the underworld." Nisita's eyes widened further as he added, "The current black mages are walking the wrong path, and we need to correct the renegade black mages." Aiden's voice grew firmer as he stood before her. "I, too, dislike these renegade black mages, especially those chaos bastards who attacked the Imperial Palace yesterday." Aiden extended his hand toward Nisita, smiling confidently. "Isn't that enough to maintain a friendly relationship?" he asked, his eyes gleaming with a mix of sincerity and calculated charm. Nisita, still radiating power, hesitated, her mind racing. Not only does an imperial noble know the essence of black magic, but he even acknowledges black mages. Sweat dripped from her face as she tried to comprehend the situation. Is this really true? Or is this just a ploy to save himself from me killing him? Before she could form a response, Aiden grinned even wider. "You can take your time thinking it over," he said lightly. "In exchange, I'll give you some useful information." Nisita raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Do you think there's something I don't know, being part of the intelligence organization?" Aiden nodded confidently. "Of course, because only I know about this." He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a whisper, his lips almost brushing her ear. "Because this is something that will happen in the future." Before he could finish, the door burst open with a loud thud. Lo entered in a rush, shouting, "Young master, you have a visitor." Beside him stood Tyan, looking very serious and focused. "Aiden, I need to talk to you." Tyan's voice trailed off, his expression shifting to surprise as he saw Aiden standing incredibly close to Nisita. Sweat began to form on Tyan's brow, his face turning red as he realized the scene before him. "Pardon me?" Tyan stammered, quickly backing out of the room and slamming the door shut behind him before Aiden could explain. Aiden blinked, flustered, and muttered, "It's a misunderstanding," but Tyan was already gone. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more Manhwa recaps like this, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll stay updated with more content like this. Until next time.